Oops.
Welcome to the Lift Heavy Run Long podcast, episode number 130 with at Make Wads Great. Again, you can find us at www.liftheavyrunlong.com, on Twitter and Instagram at LiftRunLong. Also, feel free to email me directly at the address wilson@liftheavyrunlong.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you are not a member of our Facebook group, you should be, because we want you to be there. Search for Lift Heavy Run Long Community and request to join right now. My name is Wilson Horrell. I am one of your hosts. And I would like to remind you that the Lift Heavy Run Long podcast is not censored. And
that's a good reminder.
I've forgotten how to do this. It's been like a month since we
been a minute.
Did a podcast. The last one was Chris Miller almost 2 weeks ago.
I know. People are upset.
But we still have a podcast and we still have an app. Did you know that we have an app?
We have an app.
We do, and we want you to be on it. For $3.99 a month, you can be on that app. And what you will get with that is you'll be added to the Lift Heavy Run Long community. You'll have access to the greatest trainer in the world, Ms. Valerie Hunt. And you will get 4 barbell strength exercises every week, 4 WODs every week, and 3 body weight movement exercises. For $9.99 a month, you can have unlimited access to all of the programs that Lift Heavy Run Long has to offer. That is anywhere from 5K programs to 100-mile programs to triathlons to Spartan races, to whatever it is that you need. If you need to rob a bank, we have a program for that.
Rob a bank?
What else?
I just renewed my membership. Yeah,
You did.
I'm a
Thank you
banker,
very
by the
much.
way. I just renewed.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm a banker, so that made me nervous.
You'll also get Wilson's personal cell phone number, so when you can't remember your password, you can just call him and he'll tell you what it is.
You can do that. I'm available at all times. I have sitting next to my right the most wonderful woman in the world, jacked and tan, Amanda Kimsey Horrell.
Hey, how are you?
Doctor Amanda Kimsey Horrell.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
What's new?
Not much. I have a new
You ran the Dopey
Gryffindor
Challenge.
sweatshirt. Woo.
Congratulations on Dopey.
Thank you.
Outstanding
Dopey was
job.
successful and fun, and actually very good races for me.
Yeah.
Very comfortable. Yeah.
That's a lot of work, a lot of effort.
Had a lot of fun with a lot of friends. Yep.
I don't mean to take away from the running for any length of time, but I just want to tell you I've never seen a grown adult be more childlike than when we walked into the Harry Potter area of Universal Studios. Your wife lit up like a Christmas tree, giddy as can be, bouncing from store to store, and just never seen an adult that happy in my life.
Isn't that fun?
It is awesome. It was I mean, it was seriously awesome to see, because it actually made me sad for myself, because I don't think there's anything that I love that much or I get that excited about. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
So it made me a little sad for myself, but it was cool to see her get so excited, and we kind of gave her a hard time about nerding out or whatever, but we were all just jealous that she was in her element.
I loved it.
And
That
happy
was my
as can be.
favorite part of the trip.
That was the first time you'd been there?
No, it was the second. But it was
Okay.
my first time seeing the new section of
All right.
the
Diagon Alley.
Diagon Alley.
But what else is cool is all that is so legit. It's so authentic. Like that
Oh,
energy is so
yeah,
real.
yeah, yeah.
It's fun. Okay, sitting next to Jack and Tan, we have somebody who's been behind the black veil for a long time now, and we're revealing him at Make Wads Great Again, John Woole.
Yep, there you go.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Got it. First try.
Man, how great is this? This worked out. I saw you on Instagram, and I just randomly sent you a message and said, if you happen to be in the North Mississippi, Memphis area, would love to have you on the podcast. And you're like, hey, just so happens that my mom and dad live in Tupelo.
Yeah. Hillbillies gravitate together.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's what it was. It's like just get pulled together. It's like gravity. It's great.
There's a lot of truth
It's true.
to that.
we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to get through our usual intro. Tends to take about 50 minutes. We're not going to do that because I want to hear your story. I want to hear how all this came about, and then we just want to talk trash.
Sure.
So we have sitting next to John, the Reverend Von Rawls.
Yes.
What's up?
I'm here.
What's
I was
new?
wondering, should we change the category of this podcast from fitness and nutrition to like
Derelicts.
something else?
Satire, comedy.
I'm sure you're going to read the review, but some guy said, this is the funniest podcast I've ever listened to. And I was like, yeah, you're right, it is.
But we talk about fitness-ish, and we talk about stuff like
I
that.
agree,
And
We talk about the things that we know that we should do, but we don't.
We could probably get iTunes to pay more attention to us if we switched to outdoor comedians.
Outdoor comedians. Big Thirsty Brian Swanson behind the camera.
Yes,
the
sir.
Best looking cameraman in the business.
There he is.
So good looking that we put him behind the camera because the audience just can't handle it.
Also a Dopey Challenge runner.
Also a
Also.
Dopey Challenge finisher. Congratulations.
that was dopey number 2 for me.
What was your marathon time? I never asked you.
Don't even start me lying. Somewhere between 5:30 and 5:45.
Okay, so you did well. I mean, that's
Yeah.
pretty good. You
Yeah.
said you
I said sub 6 was going to be a good day. 5:30
Yeah,
would
yeah.
be a great day. I was on a 5:10-ish pace through mile 20. And at about mile 20, you are headed into the ESPN Wild World of Sports, and you see the stream of runners that are 4 miles ahead of you coming out of that and going into
Uh-huh.
another park. And something mentally in me broke, knowing that like they were like 4 miles ahead of me. I can't even explain it.
Well,
Because
the
that's
DJ
not,
yelling their mileage versus ours didn't
yeah,
help
yeah,
anything over
yeah.
and
There's a
over again.
DJ in the middle of the road, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, if you're turning into the Wild World of Sports, you're at mile 17 and a half. If you're coming out of the Wild World of Sports, you're at mile 20.8 or whatever it is, and
It's even worse than saying it's all downhill from here.
right. Because I mean, I don't know. I was already starting to get tired. I was always starting to feel sore, so it didn't take much for me to mentally lose it. But anyways, I mean, over the next 6 miles, lost somewhere about around a half hour in my finish time. So I did a lot of walking.
Did you get one of those macaroni and cheese in a ice cream
I
cone
didn't.
shaped bread basket?
And you didn't bring any back to us either.
You
I
didn't.
didn't.
You didn't flash freeze any of it?
Well, I don't even know why you even went.
Yeah. It
I
didn't
can't
do me any good.
remember.
Congratulations on
I
your
feel
medals,
like
but it didn't help me.
I brought it up at one point, and we were headed to that park, and maybe I forgot about it once we got there.
Oh, look,
I
a
don't know.
beer stand.
Yeah, exactly. that's pretty much how it went. It was
Yeah,
like
brought it up at one point. Sure as discussed in length. You know what, Wilson and Vaughn, there's a beer stand. We should go over there. Well, congratulations on that. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of work even from my end, talking to Amanda every day and being like, God, she's got another one of these things. And then playing at the park that's a lot of work.
So this is the first time. So I did Goofy in 2012, I did Dopey in 2015, and then Dopey again this time. And this is the first time that I've gone to the parks every day after running. Normally it's like Thursday you do the 5K, and it's like, all right, can't do anything. I've got a 10K tomorrow, and then Friday you do the 10K, and it's like, okay, I can't do anything for the rest of the day because you got a half marathon tomorrow, and so on and so forth. And then you get to the marathon, and it's like, well, I just ran a marathon. I don't want to do anything today. So Monday is like the first day that you actually get out, or the first day that I would usually get out and actually do anything. And so it was a lot more fun this time getting out and doing it. I definitely think it affected my runs the following days, the fact that I was on my feet all day long, walking around the parks and stuff, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't going to PR or any of the races or anything like that, so we had it was a typical running trip. We had a great time except for the running.
All right. Well, I got something for y'all.
Apparently we have a review that somebody thinks we're funny.
We do. We have two of them.
I snuck in the first one.
You got to stop doing that,
the
man.
one-
That's not. You have to know your role. You're not allowed
Well,
to do that because it affects my excitement.
yeah.
I'm
I
just
know.
not even going to read them now.
Well, one of them, the one that I had referenced, is probably the best review I've ever heard.
Yeah.
of any podcast.
Yes, I think that
ever.
you're right. Should I read that first or second?
Second.
Okay.
Sorry, John.
But that's kind of rude to the other one. Huh? All right. Perfect Timing by Shanky's 170. I was struggling to manage strength training and distance running as I prepared for my first ultra, Tunnel Hill 50 this year. I saw a LHRL shirt at the pre-race pasta dinner and thought I'd check out what the logo meant. I'm so glad I did. Since that weekend, I have listened to every podcast and I've been working on the archived episodes. I actively use the app and I love it. You guys epitomize the community I've been looking for to bridge weightlifting and distance running, and your timing was perfect. You motivated me to reach my 400-pound deadlift goal on New Year's Eve. Congratulations. To meet the 5,400 for the
In
year.
a calendar year. There you go.
I look forward to
Nice.
seeing what's possible in 2019 and hope to see you guys at a few ultras. Keep
Wait,
up the great work.
That's not the really great.
Yeah, that was
Review?
a really
Yeah,
good
that's
one.
what I
That-
was.
that's
As
the-
I was saying that, I was like, "This is really a terrible thing to say because it's such." The other one's such a great review.
Wow.
But Shanky needs to be in the.
Yeah, he. Well,
Do you know who that
the,
is?
The problem is, I think I do, but the problem is, I thought you already read that one last week. I didn't realize there were two.
Yeah.
I could have swore we talked about seeing somebody at the dinner with a T-shirt on, so I thought you had done that already. So that's what's got me screwed up. Two incredible reviews.
Well, he needs
we
to
have.
send his information so we can get him on the 5,400 page.
That's for sure.
Can you hunt him down? Do you know who that is?
I can figure it out.
Okay. All right. Be Prepared by AC Soundcheck. Be prepared to laugh. This podcast is hilarious. Be prepared to be inspired. The guests featured on this podcast range from ordinary, everyday people to world-class athletes. Each one of them has an amazing story, and the hosts are experts at highlighting the exceptional aspects of those stories. You will be inspired to greatness in your daily life by this podcast. Be prepared to die. This podcast will convince you to stretch your boundaries and push your limits. Somewhere in the mix of the host discussing things totally unrelated to fitness and hearing stories of incredible athletic performance, you'll be caught up in the fun and find yourself searching for races on Ultra Sign Up and heading out to the parking lot to lift small cars. This podcast leads to crazy lifting, addictive running, and you'll probably die. If you're looking for the most welcoming, most inspiring fitness podcast available, you have found it in Lift Heavy, Run Long.
That's awesome.
Okay, so he didn't say it was the funniest podcast he's ever listened to, but that's what I heard, and that's what matters.
You can't do a much better review than that.
No, you
Whoever that
can't.
guy is, you're welcome at my dinner table anytime.
That's true. I might even let you in my kitchen too.
I want to get to our friend John Woolley. John Woolley has the Instagram handle of @MakeWads which was originally
CrossFit Trump.
CrossFit Trump. Tell us about how that got started.
Oh man, it goes kind of way back. So right after Trump won the election, I got this wild idea that I wanted to kind of a voice and I don't know, just spoof it. So I created a Twitter handle, and I would do fitness-related tweets in Trump's voice. You know, so like, you know, things like, you know, my pull-ups are huge, and you know, just really kind of stupid things. And I would take his tweets and I would reword them into.
I feel like I'm gonna laugh.
There's some good ones.
I'm just gonna
if
be
it-
giggling the rest of the hour.
Yeah, I'd go
so-
back. I should have pulled some from you because some of them were pretty funny at the time, but it didn't really get a lot of following. And around the time of the Granite Games, the Panchek twins were competing, and I've known Scott for years. I didn't know the twins, had never met them, and so I decided I'll use his Twitter handle to kind of make fun of them as they're competing. And one of the kids they were competing with was Latino, and so I did a lot of Trump, you know, a lot of Trump stuff around the wall and wall balls, and it was, yeah. I probably should go delete some of those in hindsight, but they had no idea, but they both followed me. Well, you know, kind of fast forward a couple months later, I decided I wanted to start training at Mentality that Scott owned, and I went out and, you know, introduced myself to him. You know, like, hi, I'm John, friend of Scott. So like, okay, nice to meet you. You're just some old guy. You know, I'm like, oh, by the way, you follow me on Twitter. I'm CrossFit Trump. And they both just lost their minds. Just lost it. And so that's one of my first clue that it was probably kind of pseudo-funny because they're young. They're in their early 20s. And you know, so I kind of got an idea that people might like it. Well, it started to pick up a little bit of a following for a while. I think I collected maybe 800 followers in total. Like it wasn't a ton. And we were driving to Mississippi, me and my two daughters, and they said, you need an Instagram handle for this page. You should be doing, memes and jokes and whatever. And so I literally just handed my phone to my oldest daughter. I'm like, well, set it up. And so she set it up, and she did the first meme for me. And I started screwing around with it for a while, and again, picked up 200 or 300 followers, but nothing big. And I wasn't doing it much, like, maybe once a day or once a week in some cases. Well, then regionals comes along, and they ran a contest on the update show. So my regionals is gone. We can talk about that in a minute. But at the time, they had this update show. It was really fantastic, and they would update how the regionals were going. And they did this contest with do a hashtag update show, and we might share your post. Well, I'm like, okay, I'm in. So I'm like, I'll just hammer them with memes and see what happens. So I did this meme of Rob Forte, who's an athlete out of Australia. Him and this guy Jay Crouch, who both ended up following me from this. There was a picture of them, and Jay is behind Rob, and Rob's shirtless, and he's got his hands over his chest, and it looked just like that iconic Janet Jackson photo where she's got the hands over her boobs, right? So I put them side by side and said, who wore it better? Right? And I just tossed it out there. Well, me and my oldest are sitting on the couch one night, and we're literally not paying attention. It's, regionals is playing on the TV, an update show comes on, and we're sitting there screwing around, and all of a sudden I hear Kayla Banfield, who was the announcer, go, and now we're going to show our, post from the weekend. Here's one from CrossFit Trump. And I look at the TV, and there it is, 60-inch TV.
Oh,
I'm like, holy crap. So I reach over and grab my phone, flip it to Instagram. I felt like a Kardashian. It was like literally watching the follower count just go click, 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 click,
Wow.
click, click, click.
that had to have been so gratifying.
I picked up I think I picked up 700 followers in a minute. Like it was crazy,
Really?
just like that. And so that was kind of my first clue that people would like it. And so through regionals and really into the games, I just kind of kept posting, and so I started tagging athletes. So the girls told me, they go, you got to tag the athletes. You got to tag people so they can see it. I had no idea. I'm like, okay. So I did this. So I did this post for Rich Froning. I called it the Rich Froning Starter Pack, and it was he's a former games champion. So I hope everyone knows who Rich Froning is, but amazing athlete, amazing guy. But he's really tan, really fit. He has like this wax chest, right? A little bald spot going on, right? And an amazing athlete. So I did the starter pack that was wrist wraps, Nair, tanning cream, and what's the stuff?
Rogaine.
Rogaine. Yeah, Rogaine. Those were the four. Now keep in mind, he's got 1 million followers. He commented on it and said, "I don't wear wrist wraps." Now, I laughed for like 2 days over that. It was so funny.
Hilarious.
And so that was kind of my first clue that, man, this guy's got 1 million followers. And, he saw this, this tiny little meme page, read it, commented. And so then I started tagging everybody at that point. And then it started to blow up. Like, the athletes, they started reposting me. I had several athletes that started following and messaging me. And like, I went from, I had 300 followers in June. By the end of August, I had 10,000. And as of today, I'm at like 47,500, give or take.
Yeah, I'd started following you at like 8, and somebody had said, if you want entertainment, go here, and I immediately started just using you for Instagram essentially, because it's where I go to kill time. And you had like 8,000 followers, and then you were climbing pretty quickly, but then over the last 6 weeks, it's like, is this thing ever going to stop?
Yeah, it picks up right now. Like, I think I'm at 300 for the day today. I mean, that's pretty normal. It'll be anywhere from 200 to 500 depending on the day of the week. Sometimes it'll drop down into the low 100s.
500, more
new
on the
followers.
500 edge if you piss
Yeah.
people off.
Yeah, it depends. Like, actually, I get more when I piss people off, whatever that's worth. I don't know why. But I think it's a combination of a couple of things. I think one, the normal people like myself, and I am a little normal. they can relate to kind of the day-to-day CrossFit stuff that I post. I mean, I've CrossFitted for 8 years, so I've literally seen it all at this point. And I'm also kind of like the Forrest Gump of CrossFit. Like, I've been really fortunate to be around world-class athletes, like the best of the best. I just kind of stumbled into them over the years, and so I've seen a lot of stuff. So I think they relate to that. And then the kind of the second, I don't know if it's an advantage, but I've got, I don't know, maybe 3 dozen games athletes that follow, and they routinely like repost or comment. And I think, obviously the kind of day-to-day CrossFitters want to be around that. They want to talk to those athletes, and I think it draws people in. It just works.
Have you ever gotten you're an asshole from anybody that is not of importance, but any athlete that's ever spit on you?
In the last hour? No. I pissed off Tia Claire Toomey. That was fun. Actually, her and Brooke Entz, I pissed them both off pretty good.
Oh, no.
Those are good stories, though. They're both learning lessons. So I have some rules for the page, right? I don't sexualize athletes ever. Like, it's a big rule for me to just don't do that. I try to stay away from race topics, like things that are so edgy you can never recover. I try to stay away. But
Good idea.
But I also keep it pretty edgy. Like I don't, I censor myself some, but for the most part, I'll say whatever's on my mind. So Brooke Entz, who, by the way, I love and is an amazing athlete, her husband follows me. She doesn't, but her husband does. And she probably won't remember this. The page was so new. So she posted a picture. She posted a million pictures. She sells a lot of stuff. And so she was posting pictures, some things that she was advertising, and she listed it. So her picture said, new glasses, Ray-Bans, $350, top, $80, shorts, $150, and then it said chest, Dr. Whoever, $2,500 or $10,000 or whatever it was, right? And so I didn't even see it. A friend of mine sent it to me and said, hey, you should post this and say, look who got new glasses, right? And I immediately thought, no, I'm not going to do that. And then I'm like, okay, why not, right? Posted it, didn't give it a second thought. Wake up the next morning, she's commented and was pissed, I mean, something along the lines of, oh, I see what you did there to, draw attention to your page or something. And so it was a little learning lesson for me that, they're people. They're not, just random athletes. And that's when I told myself, all right, I still to this day, and I didn't delete the post, I might add, because I still think, at least in my mind, that it was fair game because she commented that I was playing off of what she said. But
she opened that door by doing the post originally.
But
so.
I understand it. I understand kind of the thought, because when one person piles on, then everybody kind of jumps in. The page was really small, so very few people saw it, and it's at this point 3,000 posts behind. Tia Claire's, I still don't get. I don't know her. I've only talked to her when she yelled at me, but.
That was a face-to-face yell or a
no?
all
I
capital?
actually haven't. I haven't met her. It was all caps though. I haven't met her. So because I did those posts on Rob Forte, I have a ton of followers in Australia, just a ton of them, and they're really funny people. And so I know people that know her, right? And so I was doing some, I guess I call them fake quotes. Right, so like I did one of Castro that says if they die, or something along those lines. And so I was going to do one on her, and I did it all in Australian slang, so like nobody could understand it. So I literally messaged a buddy in Australia and said, hey, here's what I want to say, how do you put this into Australian? And so it was gibberish, right, to at least to Americans. And so and I put after it, Tia Claire Toomey probably, right? So I didn't even attribute it to her. I just I thought it was clear satire. Well, next thing I know, I get a direct message in all caps that says, don't attribute quotes to me. That's literally all it said.
Oh, no.
So I apologized and deleted it, and she was very nice. She said to me, hey, I get it. I like humor. I just don't want people attributing quotes to me. And, again, I understand that. Like, these are sponsored athletes. They get paid to put their name on things, and I could see where someone could look at something and go, oh, that person said that. Now, in this case, it was gibberish. So... But, I want to be respectful.
That's kind of a weird thing to think about. Like, she's not a celebrity per se. You know what I mean? Like, and now that you have these celebrity athletes that are like have. It's interesting to see how they react.
But any
to,
athlete that has a true sponsorship from like a Reebok or something like that, they have a morality clause in their sponsorship, and they can lose sponsors if.
I understand,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is she did not do that. He did. It's interesting to see how different people will react to like what somebody like you does
Right.
when, like, if all of a sudden yet tomorrow I was famous and for no reason other than I can do push-ups or whatever. You say something about me, and I'm like, well, screw that guy,
Right.
you know, blah blah blah. But another person might just be like, that's pretty funny, you know. Like,
I wonder how much of that is relative to perceived celebrity, and how much of that is just some people just fly off the handle.
right? And
any
but
little
I'm
thing.
saying, like, if you think about Ben Affleck. You could say whatever you want to about him, and you're not going to get a message from Ben Affleck about, hey, man, don't attribute quotes to me.
Well, now I'm going to
You know what
I try. I mean,
Challenge
accepted.
I don't know if what I'm saying makes any sense at all, but like the CrossFit put a lot of these people into the spotlight that wouldn't normally be in the spotlight. You know what I mean? And it's interesting to see how they react. Like,
I had a weird moment with it, trying to decide if I should delete it. I mean, I said to her, typically when athletes ask me to take something down, I will. So I did. But there's also the other part of me that, this is funny. It's satire. It's clearly satire. I mean, my page is listed 100%. It says 100% satire and jokes, And so there's part of me that kind of the free speech part of me is like I wanted to just thumb my nose at her and keep it. But in that case, I deleted it. Truthfully, it was only funny to me anyway. Like, I don't think it would have done as well as some of the others. And I've done other posts on her since, so.
Does it bother you? I mean, do you look at your comments and ever think, like the world's turning against me, or do you just blow all that stuff off?
It depends. It's funny. I was watching Joe Rogan's podcast a few weeks ago, and he said something that struck me hard. That's made me think better of it. It did at first, and he said on his podcast that 5% of the population is just batshit crazy. And once I kind of got my mind around that, I've gone, all right, if it's 5 to 10%, for me it means I got 5,000 people out there that are nuts, and it doesn't matter what I post.
Right.
That's right.
They're going to make a weird comment.
Mm-hmm.
And so, sometimes they bug me, and sometimes I'll push back, but for the most part, people are pretty respectful.
You do a really good job of playing with your audience. When people are, trying to throw darts at you, your comments are witty, they're funny, they're fair. You really don't go over the top, and I'm sure you're pretty calculated in that, obviously, because you're on a platform that you could easily jump over the top in a second.
Well, it's funny you say that. So I've had several lately that have been a little edgy, and I had someone said to me, they messaged and said, you're better than this, and I'm like, am I really? No, I'm not.
The only thing that you know about me is I'm a kettlebell with orange hair.
Yeah, well,
Like how much better am I really?
yeah, well, and they said to me, you should really, think about the power of your words. And I'm like, I appreciate the fact you think that I just don't put any thought into this at all, but it's all calculated. Everything I post, there's a thought behind it. Nothing's random, nothing's by chance. Like, some of it's throw-away, some of it's just, all right, that's dumb, I'll post it. But nothing's not planned, and so, I don't know. I try not to let them bug me. It does some, but, you can't please everybody.
Now, was the Trump thing more of are you a political guy, or were you just
No.
looking to market, just
No.
capitalize on
Well, yeah, at the time, it was edgy.
him being a lightning rod?
I thought it would be funny. You take CrossFit that is a relatively wholesome fitness activity, and you put it with this bomb thrower. And now, if you've got Trump on it, you can say anything you want. All bets are off.
oh man,
Right?
It was brilliant. The first time I saw
It is brilliant.
First time I saw it, I was like, oh my god, I wish I'd have thought of that.
Uh-huh.
It was one of those kind of things.
Well, the things that were funny about it, you could piss off both factions. So I did one once right after regionals got canceled. Now, keep in mind, because the Trump name is on there, I'd get a lot of followers that are hardcore Trump. And I still have a lot of those people. And so I did a post that said, all I'm saying is, when Obama was president, we had regionals. That was the post. You would have thought I went to the White House and took a dump on the lawn. Like, lost their minds, you know. And so I would do a little of that, with the Trump name, you could get away with it, but once I got over 10,000, I really started thinking fast about changing the name, for a number of reasons. I had people reaching out to me for business ideas, and I knew I couldn't keep the CrossFit name, otherwise they'd sue me. And I didn't want to only specialize in CrossFit.
Is that something that would have happened?
Probably.
Yeah.
I assumed that. I assumed you had gotten a cease and desist or
No,
something.
no. They've never given me one. Matter of fact, I got a bunch of people from CrossFit HQ that follow. I may get one after this, but
No, I don't think.
but
you
I'm
will.
not. I'm
I
not
mean,
selling anything on the website. Like
Yeah.
I keep it pure satire, and I give it to them as much as I praise them. I mean,
Right.
I think CrossFit's an amazing community, but they do plenty of things that I think are kind of quirky and I make fun of. So.
Well, but there's no question that you're good for the CrossFit community at the end of the day.
There's some question.
You think so?
No, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I'm certainly trying to help them build their audience. I think that part of what I'm trying to do is to get people to get into fitness and to better their lives through exercise. So I think I'm good for them, but I don't think I need them to run the page. I mean, I could, I don't have to say the word CrossFit to be funny.
Right.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
CrossFit's bigger than just the name. It is a community of people that get together and do fitness. I mean, I've done CrossFit for 8 years, but I've also run half a dozen marathons and ultra races and other things that I've been able to do because of CrossFit, so.
One
I
thing
don't
that you do really well, and I don't know if it's by design or if it just happens to appear this way to me, but you seem very relatable in the fact that the things that you post that you're sharing in those are experiences that you had, and not looking at it from, not making fun of someone else without you being lumped in there with it.
I've seen it all. I mean, that's, I have a list of, at least in my mind, of things that I've seen over the years that happen everywhere. They're universal to CrossFit. There's always one person that shows up late for every workout holding a Starbucks. Always. There's always a group of women that are usually moms that when double unders happen, they pee their pants. Right? It's relatable, and it becomes funny, to put it out there. And what's interesting to me is, you'll do that post, and like I did one, I found this picture. I just looked for weird pictures. I found a picture, and it was some woman in yoga pants, and she had peed her pants. And so I literally just put 3 rounds for time, double unders, box jumps, and running. And it got like 3,000 likes and probably shared, I don't know, a couple thousand times, and as I went in to look, see who was tagging, it was literally mom to mom to mom to mom, like, and that's when I really started figuring out, man, if you can find the things that are common threads in a CrossFit gym, you can really get something. And so I try to do, I mean, I do a lot of posts every day, probably 10 to 12, and I try to make usually about half of those kind of relatable humor, and another half are just things I find funny. And if they hit, they hit. If they don't, they don't.
10 to 12 a day.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
How much time does it take you to do that?
Not much at all. It's the benefit of ADD, I guess. I get up early in the morning. I wake up at 5:30, make a pot of coffee, sit on the couch, and literally sit there and just scour social media. I look for photos that are funny. I look for meme trends. Like right now, that stupid egg is trending. I look for news articles, just videos. At this point, I have people sending me videos, so I'll go through and look at those. Followers will send me ideas. I'll look at those. I don't use a ton of them, but I use some. And
Are you good at Photoshop?
yeah, I
That's
do.
helpful, huh?
Well,
You can pretty much be, even if you're on the, I think that you can be really good at Photoshop, and you can be right at the level of crappy to where the crappier is even funnier than a really good Photoshop,
yeah,
especially when you're doing
Are you?
satire.
How much of it do you do? Is this all done from your phone, or
all of it.
You don't
Is it
do
really?
any of it
Everything.
from your
Yeah.
computer?
No, it literally everything is done on my phone,
Wow.
top to bottom. And so I spend an hour a day, get up in the morning 5 to 6, however many I get. That's my rule. And then
And you'll get all 12 of those in an hour.
sometimes I'll get 20.
Wow.
I think
And you just
my
sched-
record's like 25. I mean, I'll get the photos and then I'll look at them, and kind of my personal rule is whatever's the first thing that pops in my mind, that's what I use.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll, put it together. Sometimes I'll just save the photos and look at it for days. I've got half a dozen on my phone right now. I still don't have captions for, but the pictures are funny.
And
And
so
then
when you create those in that hour, you just schedule them to post throughout the day.
I just randomly post them. So I
Oh,
kind
you
of figured.
can't schedule Instagram.
Yeah, you can't. I wish you could. And their algorithm's weird anyway. So I've kind of figured at this point, like, I have a rhythm. I post one at 5 when I get up. I do 7, 9, 11, 12, 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. I try to, I'm kind of 10, 15 minutes either side of those windows. And I just, sometimes I post less. Depends on how funny I feel I am that day.
Which time gets the best engagement?
There's no rhyme or
You don't
reason.
think
I
so?
posted one at 5 o'clock. I was talking to my daughter driving up here. I did one of, it was a CrossFit fairy tale, and I photoshopped a Metcon onto Cinderella's foot. And I think it got 500 likes in like 10 minutes.
See,
Like,
I would never get anything done. I would always have to see how my post was doing. I mean, if you're posting every 2 hours,
I've quit looking. I
Yeah.
used to do that.
Well, you
There
have
was a
to, I
moment where I
guess.
was getting nothing done, and now I just post them and don't look. And that's what's really funny, because now I'll look. I posted one the other day, and I didn't look at it all day long. At the end of the day, I looked and it had like 8,000 likes. I'm like, oh my God, when did this happen? And then I got to go back and look at the comments. It had hundreds of comments. I've just kind of quit looking. I mean, I'm on vacation this week, so I've looked more than, I normally do, but I just kind of quit obsessing about it. Just post them, whatever hits.
you think that, do you ever fear that like you'll get to a place where somebody's just going to beat your ass? Like now that you've shown your face?
No, I mean, I've made it this long without anybody doing it. I'm a pretty good runner, so
You said today that a kid at the gym pointed at your shirt.
yeah, that was funny. Yeah, so I dropped in on Rise to Fitness CrossFit in Tupelo, and I've gone there several times when I'm in town. Great gym, great coaches, and so they know I do the page because I've been there enough, and they follow me. But nobody there knows me except for the owners, really. Couple of members, but anyway, so I was doing the workout today. We're doing 16.5. It was brutal, as it usually is, and we're just about to start. I pull my hoodie off, and I'm wearing the red shirt with the logo on it. And a 16-year-old kid, and he's like, "Oh my God, where did you get that?" And I'm like, "I made it." And he cocks his head and looks at me like, "Why are you making T-shirts?" And then he put it together. He's like, "Oh my God, I want one." I'm like, "Well, these are sold out, so got more coming in about a month." But yeah, I mean, I did get noticed. So I don't get noticed a lot. I don't wear the shirt much. I was in a competition a few weeks ago. This was funny. So I was in. Scott puts on a competition in Cleveland every year called the Winter Classic, and it's amazing. And he brings in athletes from all over the world to compete and to work out with the athletes, which is really kind of unique. So you can do the workout. You can sign up and you do the workout with Nick Urankar, for instance, or in this case, Jessica Griffith was there, Jen Smith. And these women follow me. They all follow me, but they've never met me, and I'm constantly goofing on them. Like, I just, there's a whole group of athletes that I really like to pick on, and those two kind of fall in it, and they didn't know me. And Jessica had been bugging Scott to find out who I was, and he wouldn't give it up. He wouldn't tell her. So we're in the workout. I had rope climbs, and so I'm literally competing. I'm up on the rope. I come down. I turn and look to my right, and I see Scott leaning over, like whispering in her ear, and she just looks at me and goes, just gives me this look like, oh. And then she goofed on me all weekend. But
Have you found a way to monetize this?
no.
No.
Well, I mean, I know a way to monetize it. I just haven't. So I work with a T-shirt company, Tango Charlie Apparel, have been amazing. It's funny. I got really lucky. These guys reached out to me way before I was even at 10,000 and said, "Hey, we like your page. If you ever decide you want to sell T-shirts, we want to help you." And so I started working with them. Like, they create and design and sell the T-shirts for me. I put zero work into it,
Ooh,
much
that's
like the
nice.
rest of my life, um, which is great for me. And my give back to them is I give them shout outs on the page and help them sell their stuff. But I don't I'm not really monetized. I'm not really making money on it yet. I have a really good job. I don't need to do that. This isn't like a second gig. I really do it to just make people laugh and have fun. I'll monetize it at some point. I mean, I'd be stupid not to, and I'm projecting if if the page continues like it's going, we'll be at 100,000 by August maybe. And if that's the case, like at that point, I feel like I'm kind of forced to some degree.
You probably get 100,000 just off of being on this podcast.
I'm sure.
I think so.
Yeah. Well,
It's funny. Like,
You're probably hitting 100,000 right now.
probably.
you just don't know.
I mean, I'm going to do some T-shirt launches this year, and I'll make a little money on those, but it's not, it's not real money. I mean, it's real money, but it's, not life changing.
It's not life-changing.
Yeah.
How important do you think that it is that it's not necessary? I mean, do you think that it would? I always think about Lift Heavy Run Long, that if it was something that I needed to make money on, if I didn't have any other source of income, I would just completely fart on it. That if the creative flow, the funness, the authenticity of it would diminish, I believe. And I think that part of what I enjoy most about it is that it's just it's a hobby that I really love. And you seem to really like doing this, and I wonder how different it would be if it was a essential place for
I don't
making
know.
a living.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, for me, I'm enjoying growing the community, getting to know people. I've made a ton of friends. I get to talk to a lot of the athletes, which is kind of a fun side benefit. They actually send me meme ideas, which is really funny. For me, it's just fun for now. I'm a creative person anyway. I mean, I'm a singer-songwriter, so I went to college to play guitar, and so I've got a lot of creative outlets. I feel like my brain's just kind of always moving. So if it went away tomorrow, I'd find something else. But I'm enjoying it, and I feel like I'm bringing people into CrossFit. I mean, I routinely get messages from people that go, "Hey, I've never tried CrossFit. Where should I go? How should I start?"
Do you really?
Oh yeah, all
That's
the time.
great.
I mean, I bet I get 100 DMs a day, easily, and probably 3/4 of them I don't know at all. Just random people that are either just laughing at something I said, or or wanting to call me a pig or whatever.
Do you feel the need to reply to all of them?
I reply to almost everyone.
Really? Even
Yeah.
like the nasty people?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it depends. I don't know, I'm human like everybody else. I don't, I don't get a lot of nasty ones. I make it sound like I'm probably going to get blown up with horrible DMs tonight from saying this, but I don't get a lot, but I get a couple, and sometimes I'll respond, but I have learned that you can't really argue with crazy. So if they're already crazy, like, it's just not an argument you want to get into.
Oh, especially on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, people say ridiculous things,
Well, your following's pretty loyal too. I mean, they take care of a lot of that business.
Yeah,
I mean, it's usually pretty funny to see somebody attack you and then just kind of watch, and all of your fans are like, "Bah, bah, 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 bah,"
oh my
and just
God, I
beat them to death.
I made a transgender joke the other day, and I'm always hesitant to get into really big social issues, but I thought it was a funny joke, so I made it, and some follower came on and said, you can't refer to transgender people as transgenders. It's dehumanizing, and I'm like, okay, I didn't know. I'm not transgender, so I had no clue. I was just making a joke, and then I said to her,
That's a real thing. Like, you can't say transgender.
it just needs to be transgender athlete or
Everything is a real thing on the internet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody has some sort of, bias or slight, and so I said, hey, thanks for the education. I appreciate it. It wasn't my intent to dehumanize anyone. It's no different than I also say CrossFitter instead of CrossFit athlete. That was all. When I referred to transgenders, that's what I was doing, just shortening it. But I appreciate the comment. Man, my followers lit this woman up. I mean, just. I mean, I went back. I kept watching the thread because it kept getting longer and longer and longer and longer. Finally, I'm like, all right, you guys need to settle down. You need to leave her alone. Like, she messaged me privately and apologized. Said, hey, I should have done this privately. But I don't know. People are crazy.
Do you wake up every morning and just feel like that God has given you another gym with all the things that CrossFit's doing right now?
Oh,
Are you like, they're just making this too easy? They're
Well-
throwing softballs all the time?
CrossFit has done dumb stuff for 8 years now. So, they're really good at doing a lot of great things, and really good at making some gaffes as well. And the whole regionals thing got me a lot of followers. Matter of fact, that really opened my eyes to how small the community is. Like, as soon as regionals got canceled, I started getting messages from really big athletes, asking me questions or giving me kind of insider information, like I was a news source for others, and that's when I really started figuring out, like, man, this page has got a big reach. If, I mean, we're talking games winners, not, just average, everyday, CrossFitters that were messaging, and that's when I started to figure out, man, I can help to get some of the news out, but for me, I just wanted to lampoon it. Like, I don't need to take a position on Greg Glassman's choice to get rid of regionals. It's his business. Like, he owns it. More power to him. Like, I hope he makes a ton of money. I'm a capitalist. I'm good with it. Just because I like the games doesn't mean he shouldn't be allowed to make his choice. But
and
it
you
also
can still make jokes about it.
Yeah, I love it. I also, I'm a capitalist, but I also believe in free speech, and I'm gonna make fun of him. Like, this is real easy pickings for me. So, yeah, it's great.
That's what I find fascinating is that people actually care. Like the whole everything going on with CrossFit is interesting to me because I think it's interesting and I think it's funny and I think that it's whatever it is. But he's obviously done a lot more with fitness than I could ever do.
He's doing
and
great
all I
work.
care about is that there's CrossFit gyms that I can go and half-ass in, and that the fact that people are like really angry and worked up about different decisions that CrossFit makes in regards to the games is really just kind of strange.
Yeah, people lose sight. Like, I think I have maybe a different perspective on it because I've worked out I have a home gym in my basement. I've done that for years on top of going to gyms. And like, so I recognize I can do this on my own. I don't need a coach or Greg Glassman to tell me what a 3-round workout looks like. I can do that myself. But they're doing great work, and I think the kind of the everyday, athlete that is really passionate about the games, they lose sight of that. Like, they're changing people's lives. Like, over the course of, at this point, eight years or so, I've seen people go from, being, excessively overweight and barely able to walk to doing box jumps and running and feeling great about their progress. And you watch their spirits lift, and it's really inspiring. And so they're doing great work. They've also created this monster of the games, though, that people are passionate about and they love. It'd be no different than if you wanted to cancel the NFL. People would lose their minds. They'd absolutely go crazy. And so, it's the same thing.
Or all of a sudden you just decided you were going to change up the NFL
Yeah.
and how the teams work, and you're not going to get to watch the same thing every week.
Yeah.
It's going to be different.
Well, and
Yeah.
people lose their minds over
that's-
that, over differences and kick returns and
Yep.
how the people are allowed to hit and all those things. I've got a couple of these questions that your viewers asked you
Yeah.
on Instagram that I think are interesting. Of all the blocks you've gotten on Instagram, which hurt the worst?
Oh, Fikowski. He blocked me right at the beginning. He was He was the first one to ever block me.
Now, what does a block look like?
It means you can't see their page anymore. I mean, he's like, I'm
so
done with you.
It's a personal. You cannot come.
Yeah,
around
so
here.
that was funny. So, in his defense, I gave him a low blow. It was fair. I did a post of at least I think this is why he blocked me. He never told me, but I did a post of a podium. It was him and Ricky Gerard, who got disqualified for drugs, and Matt Frazier. So it was an actual picture. And over their names, I labeled who they were. And so over Matt Frazier, I just put America. And over Ricky Gerard, because he was from Australia, I put Disgrace Dingo. And over Fikowski, I put Snow Mexican.
Oh, jeez.
Which, in hindsight, not my best choice. Now, keep in mind, I was using the Trump name at the time,
But
so
it's
I thought
funny.
it sounded like something Trump would say. Apparently,
That's a funny.
it doesn't play as well in Canada. Who knew,
Snow
right?
Mexican.
So
I'm going to use that.
I wouldn't.
Careful where you use
Yeah, I'd be really careful where you use it. So several weeks later, I had a follower. I follow a lot of like regional athletes, and I was following this one guy who had gone to the games once and competed at regionals a bunch, and he messaged me often. And at some point, I posted, free CrossFit Trump, and he's like, "Hey, what's that about?" And I'm like, "'Cause I'm blocked by Fikowski." He's like, "I was in his wedding, right?" I'm like, seriously? He's like, yeah, I've known the guy for years. I'm like, well, get me unblocked. And, an hour later I was unblocked, and, Pakowski sent me a message, said it's all good, boo, and gave me a little kissy emoji. It was great. So,
Oh, man.
That's funny.
You get the personal touch.
Right.
That's impressive. After the block, that's even more impressive.
yeah, I don't do memes about him, though,
Yeah.
at all. And they say he's a really funny guy. I know a few people that know him, and he seems to be. He's one of the few that I have not messaged with much. But so
You don't want to accidentally burn him twice.
well, I mean, I got a lot of mileage out of it, so maybe at some point. Never say never.
Try again.
Maybe.
All right, let's see. Why Brooke Ent's mad at you? You already explained
Yeah, I told
that.
you that. Yeah.
Will people be able to do wall balls off Trump's border wall?
Well, I guess it depends if it's concrete or
if it's
or
metal,
steel.
yeah.
I don't know.
You should definitely talk about the Gillette ad.
Oh,
wow.
me and my daughter were talking about that driving up here. I don't have a huge position on it. I mean, I understand why people are upset, but it didn't bother me. I'm not gonna lie.
What is the Gillette ad?
Oh, it's
I tried to listen to part of it while I was driving. Well, I was trying to watch part of it while I was driving, and it wasn't going so
That
well.
sounds
it
like
depends on who you ask.
What are you doing? What's
You
this
know,
about
if-
driving?
It was important.
So their slogan for umpteen years has been the best a man can get.
Yeah.
And basically, they're implying because of like the Me Too movement and bullying and all the other stuff that that men can be better.
Mm.
That we're not as good as we could be. Is basically what the ad says.
Right.
Yeah, I think they want us to police ourselves. If I was again talking to my daughter driving up here about this, and we talk about these issues a lot, and it's you see men do, and again it's not all men, but there are men that do horrible things to women. It's a very real thing, and I kind of have a feeling that maybe we should all just not be crummy to each other, regardless of sex, race, religion. Just love each other. But I think the argument around the Gillette ad is you've got one side saying, it's toxic masculinity, and you've got the other side saying, well, we're not so bad. I don't think I'm so bad. Whatever that's worth.
It's marketing, and it worked.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean that's
It worked really well.
Look, the reality is Gillette doesn't care either way. They just want your money. They're a corporation. That's what corporations do. God bless them. So they make money. They don't care. No different than Nike and Colin Kaepernick. I don't think Nike cared one way or another whether he kneeled. They just cared who was buying his shoes.
Yep.
And I don't blame them for that. They're a corporation.
Do you think that your most successful posts are in relation to how many people you piss off?
Sometimes it depends. I've been saying recently you got to piss off about 10% of your audience to be really funny. But the relatable stuff is better. The stuff that gets edgy, you can't do it all the time, but I think you got to do it some. And the things that I find edgy, other people don't. And sometimes I think, man, that wasn't edgy at all, and then I'll just get lit up over it. I mentioned earlier I'd made a joke about booty shorts, and women shouldn't wear them because I'm going to hit my knee on a box from staring at them during the workout, which I thought was total satire. I can't even imagine somebody stopping a workout and just staring at a girl in booty shorts. I'm too busy to not dying to stare at what somebody's wearing. So I thought it was satire. Next thing I know, I'm getting messages that I'm promoting rape culture and
Well, it's
I'm a
funny.
pig and whatever, and then my followers start attacking these people for doing that, and I start watching the follower count grow, and so it's kind of a weird dynamic of, I'm sitting there going, do I want these new followers if they're being drawn into this, and by the same token, do I want the ones that are yelling at me? It's social media. It's
Well, people will follow whether they like you or not. I mean, people are
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
for things to be upset about.
Well, there's a whole conversation to be had, and comedians are having it a lot because I follow a lot of comedians, and they talk about man, we just can't make these jokes anymore because
Right.
we're scrutinized so much more than we have been in the past. But that's their job. You know what I mean? I wonder if you're at an advantage because, like you said, you don't really care. I could do this or not. I'm going to get more funny out of you than I am out of a guy who's worried about, oh, well, should I make that joke? Or,
Right.
No, I thought it was funny. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. It doesn't matter if somebody gets mad, they get mad. I'm going to piss off 10% of the people. whatever, you know.
Yeah, I try to balance that. I mean, humor is relative to the person listening to it anyway. I mean, I find humor in almost anything. It doesn't matter what the topic is. I can find something funny about it, and you can go down a list of things you should never joke about. Like I made a joke a couple weeks ago, actually maybe a month ago, about Overeaters Anonymous because I think the name is stupid, right? And so the post was, I don't even remember the tweet now, but it was something along the lines of, I find the name ironic because, if, there's nothing anonymous about gluttony. And I thought it was funny, and oh man, I got lit up for making fun of people that have eating disorders. I'm like,
I'm sure.
I'm making fun of the name. I'm not.
Well, that's where it goes. They're looking for it to be. They're not gonna look at the humor. It's got to be like deep down personal. You're making fun of people who have had a lifelong struggle, and it's like, what? Where? How did they even get there?
Right. Yeah, and I get it. I mean, these, the people that are mad about it often have eating disorders, or they have loved ones that have eating disorders, and they're, wanting to be protective, and I get that. But, I tell them the same thing. Like, if you don't like the humor, this is free content. It's free. You didn't pay for this. Like,
Yeah.
go find somebody else's free content.
No, I'm going to follow you and be mad.
That's what people are looking for. They're looking for something.
I'm going to tag my mad friends, and we're all going to follow you.
Well, more followers from me, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. That's how it works.
Yeah.
I wish that there was a way to poll that. Like, how many people are following me because I want to be mad at him, or how many people really like it?
I saw.
So I kind of compare this a little bit to Howard Stern to some extent. Like the way I used to describe Howard Stern years ago, like back in his glory days, was he is going to insult everybody that's listening at some point during every show. You're going to laugh during every one of his shows too. Like there's going to be stuff that he says that is so shocking that you're going to be appalled yourself. But then there's stuff that you laugh at that somebody else is so appalled that you can't believe somebody would laugh at. Like he did not discriminate. He basically hated everybody and cut on everybody. And it's kind of the same mentality. I mean, I think you just have to just go into it just doing what you think is funny and not worrying about it. And there's going to be people that listen just to be mad at you, and there's going to be people that think you're funny, and hopefully the people that are listening or the people that are watching your page because they're mad at you will eventually laugh at something that you've posted as well.
I worry about it a little. I mean, just a little. I mean, occasionally I'll have
it's
one.
good to have a degree of that.
I mean, I had one a couple of weeks ago. I won't even tell you what it was. It was so bad. But I put a joke together, and I thought it was hysterical. I'm just going to throw that out there. But it was a little racially charged. And so I sent it to Marquand Jones, who's a games athlete, and a couple other followers that I knew that were African Americans, and said, hey, look at this for me. And is this good or bad? And, they gave me good feedback. They're like, Marquand goes, it's funny. You're going to get roasted. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't post it.
Yeah.
I sat on it. I'm like, and so I sat on it for a couple of days and thought, all right, I'll think about it. And I thought about it for a couple of days. I'm like, it's right. It's not worth the battle. Like, I'm not solving civil rights issues here. Like, this is just jokes. Like, why wade into the fire if you don't need to? For a joke that's marginally funny, maybe. I'll show it to you after the podcast. So.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah, you're not getting out of here without that.
The good times.
Yeah.
You're not going to believe this. The time is almost up, but we can't leave just yet because
Wait a minute.
we have something else.
We have.
What do we have?
We have hypothetical situations.
We do have that.
I was trying to come up with the name of it.
And John, we're going to kick it off with you. I bet on my
Sweet.
brother about the jingle.
I thought you were going to sing a song.
No, I'm
I
not.
was like,
You thought Wilson was throwing it to me, didn't you?
I was like, holy shit, if Brian starts singing, I'm going to lose it.
Hypothetical.
All right, these are pretty good ones. John, you're up, man. You ready for this? This is
Absolutely
intense stuff. You have to take it seriously. If you don't take it seriously, it doesn't work.
Okay.
Okay. Would you rather look really jacked and be weak, or look like shit and be super strong?
I think I fall into both camps as it stands now. I'm really weak and I look like shit. No, I would much rather be jacked and be weak.
Jacked and super weak.
I'm single.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me break this down for you. CrossFit is like insurance for.
Right.
It's like having insurance. I tell this to all my married friends. I'm like, you already know who's going to see you naked next, right? When you're single, you're not really sure. You don't know.
Yeah, that's
don't know.
true. That's very true. Good point.
Yeah.
Amanda? Super
Oh.
jacked, super weak. Super weak.
So if I'm super jacked, I don't have to go to the gym, right? Because I'm jacked always, so I don't have to
You're
like
gonna be
show
jacked.
that I'm weak.
Yeah, right. No, you
I
don't.
would be super jacked. I'd
Yeah.
walk around like Brooke Ends.
Yeah. And just make sure that
And just
there
make it
weren't
look
ever
like I
weights
lift stuff.
around, like
Yeah.
Batman. You
Yeah.
know, he can't just be around. When,
Yeah.
Reverend?
I would just look like shit and be really strong.
That's
Would
where
you?
I'm at.
Yeah.
That's totally where I'm at. Because I
Are we
would,
talking about
I
real
would,
life? Because right now, that's me.
I,
No, it's not.
Wait a minute, I already
Get
did
outta
that. Let me
Because-
change my answer.
Because I think people would underestimate you a lot, and it would be awesome to humble them regularly.
Yeah.
You know, if you looked
Just
like
be a
shit.
sleeper.
Yeah, you know.
Yep. There's a lot of those. You see a lot of
Dark
those
horse.
in CrossFit.
There's a ton of CrossFit like that.
If you look at a bunch of, you can look at some like D1 linemen, and they're knock-kneed and like bow-legged or pigeon-toed, and you're like, that guy looks just sloppy. And then you watch play, and it's like, whoo, they're just not. What is that called? The endomorph. The body is just one of those where you just always have a floppy body, but you can still be super strong and super athletic.
I like that.
Yep, that's what I'm an endomorph. Doesn't matter how much I train. That's why, I'm just stuck here. All right, I got another one. You ready, John?
Okay. Give it up.
This will probably be equally as impactful on your long-term
I'm sure.
future. Would you rather finish first, second, or third in every race, but not be able to? You wouldn't be in any print. You couldn't post on Facebook. No social media.
You couldn't tell anybody about it.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell anybody, but you couldn't. Yeah.
You couldn't
you're
put it
right.
on Instagram.
Or finish third through fifth and be able to post wherever you want.
Oh, I'm definitely the second one because that's me right now.
Is it?
I'm never first, second, or third.
Well, I've never third through fifth either.
No, I mean, I'm super competitive. So, I mean, like most CrossFitters. But, these days, particularly at my current age, I'm not, looking to win any races. So, yeah, probably the second one.
Second one, third through fifth.
I don't give a crap about social media, so I'll take first.
Okay.
I'm definitely in the third through fifth camp.
Share it. You want to be able to share
Yes.
it? Me too. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
That's a weird. I mean, I don't care about posting it on social media either. So I guess based on that, I would take first or third. But I don't care about being first or third either. Like, if I'm going to show up at a competition, it's for my own sake. It's not to compare myself to anybody else. So
Okay. Well, I work really hard on these hypothetical questions,
Apparently.
so there'll be more next week,
okay.
and they'll be equally, maybe even more so, impactful. So
Okay.
be ready. You
Uh,
got to bring your A game,
I'm ready.
because if you don't have your thoughts cleared, and you don't answer these questions correctly, then
You got to know what you want.
yep.
Be ready.
Fantastic.
At Make Wads Great Again, John Woolley.
You're out.
Lift Heavy Run Long podcast episode number 130 is in the books.
Boom.